Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I want to welcome everybody to our Thursday afternoon meeting of the Rotary Club of Tyler. Amen. Good to be here. Good to see everybody. Got a good program scheduled today. And before we get started, I want to remind everybody to please go ahead and silence. I think I'm going to have a problem with this today. Please silence your cell phones. And at this time, I'd like to bring up past President Pamela Walters to lead us in the national anthem and the Pledge of Allegiance. Pamela. She forgot. Where's the flag? Oh, that's there.
Back behind everything.
If you'll all stand and press the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see our lawns are green by, and so proudly we hail as the twilight's last gleaming, with frostlights and bright stars, through the perilous fight. Over the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rockets' red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave the roof through the night, while our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Now, for invocations and introductions, please welcome past President D.M. Edwards.
Thank you, President Bill. Let's all bow together in a word of prayer. Father, we're grateful for each person, each family represented here today in this Rotary meeting. We ask, Lord, for your guidance, watch, care, and protection over each person and each family. We lift up to you, Lord, the people of the Ukraine, and ask that the power of your presence would be with them and sustain them as they fight for their freedom. We thank you for the work of Rotary International around the world, and also for the work of our own Rotary Club of Tyler in so many different areas. Thank you for this food, for every blessing, Lord. We ask it all in your perfect name. Amen.
Amen.
If you'll be seated, we'll go to our introductions today. First, let me ask, are there any visiting Rotarians from other clubs here with us today?
Yes, sir. Sunrise Rotary.
Good, and give us your name.
David Cocker. I thought everybody knew. David Cocker.
David, it's so good to have you here today. Welcome. And let's start here at the tables at the back of the room. Do we have any gifts that Rotarians have brought with them today that you'd like to introduce? If not, how about the tables here at the front?
I've got one to be in, my good friend Rebecca Jones. It's her first time, hopefully not the last time to visit with us, but y'all welcome her.
Welcome. We're so glad to have you here today. Come back and visit with us often. President Bill?
Okay, thank you, DM. Welcome to our visitors. I want to thank our greeters for today, Mary Birch and Jim Robertson. Give it up for them, there we go. And now for one of the most anticipated parts of our meetings each week. It's time yet again for This Week in History with Paul Glasser.
Today, 1889, Le Tour Eiffel, you know it as the Eiffel Tower, in Paris, was opened to the public during the Paris Exposition. It was operated as a public concession by its creator, Gustave Eiffel. The tower was hated by many. It was said to revert to the ownership of the city of Paris. 20-year concession and be demolished. Celebrated French author Guy de Maupassant loathed it so deeply that he ate his lunch at the tower every day because it was the only place in Paris where he could not see it. Its value as an antenna when radio got invented is what saved it. It is today one of the most iconic city landmarks in the world. Tomorrow, on the 1st of April, we look back to 1945, eventually involving 103,000 soldiers and Marines, 18,000 sailors, 3,000 airplanes, and 260 ships. The Battle of Okinawa in the Pacific Theater began with the landing of 50,000 Allied troops on the Japanese-controlled island. Okinawa was seen as a strategic base for the eventual invasion of the Japanese homeland. The battle would go on for 3 months and 6 days, resulting in more than 50,000 American casualties, including more than 12,000 killed. Japanese forces on the island were all but totally wiped out, as was half the indigenous civilian population. Such the wages of war. On the 2nd of April, 1917, speaking of war, the world must be made safe for democracy, said President Woodrow Wilson as he asked Congress for a declaration of war against Germany, signaling America's entry into World War I. Continued German attacks on U.S. shipping had eroded popular support for U.S. neutrality. The Senate voted 82-6, the House voted 373-50. On the 3rd of April, 1936, Bruno Hauptmann, a German-born prison for the 1932 kidnapping and murder of the infant son of Charles Lindbergh. On the 4th of April, 1968, not a good day, while standing on the balcony of the Lorraine Motel in Memphis, Tennessee, Martin Luther King Jr. was shot in the neck by a rifle shot fired from 200 yards away. James Earl Ray fled the country, later captured at Heathrow Airport in London. He was sentenced to 99 years of imprisonment. He died on April 23rd, 1998. On the 5th of April, 1792, President George Washington exercised the first presidential veto, turning down a bill that would have apportioned congressional seats in favor of northern states. And on the 6th of April, 1841, this is an important date with respect to our own history, following the death of William Henry Harrison 2 days earlier, after only his 31st day in office, John Tyler officially took the oath of office as the 10th president of the United States. He was not popular. He was accidency by critics, but he was instrumental in the annexation of Texas and is recognized for it by having the county seat of Smith County, Texas, named in his honor. Birthdays of the coming week, starting today, Al Gore turns 75 today. Shirley Jones from the Partridge Family, the Music Man, great singer-actress, 88 today. Eddie Murphy, 60 on Sunday. Any Full House fans? DJ Tanner, Candace Cameron Bure turns 46 on Wednesday. And actor Billy D. Williams turns 84 also on Wednesday, and that's This Week in History.
Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, Rotary business. my glasses on. Everything's a two-step process. Rotary business, okay. Emmett, why don't you come on up and talk to us about the Tyler Rotary Young Citizens Banquet, which is 1 week away. We need 30 volunteers. Emmett's going to tell us a little bit about that.
Thank you. Well, this is going to be our 92nd Tyler Young Rotary Citizens Club dinner. For the past 2 years, we haven't had any banquet. So anybody who joined in the past 2 years need to attend this function. It is one of our biggest events for this club. The Tyler Young Citizens Rotary Club was started in this club about 92 years ago. And then it has spread all over the United States and all over the world. So we should be proud of this particular event. In fact, it's the biggest event of this club. So I am asking everybody, especially those folks who joined in the last 2 years, because we didn't have a banquet for 2 years, to come and help, come and volunteer, things to be done, and it will be a very exciting program for you to attend. I'm going to pass around a volunteer sheet. The more the merrier. I know it says 37 here, but if you can get more, the better. So at least we are amongst the students. They are sitting with them and helping them.
Where is it?
April 7th, that's next Thursday. We don't have an afternoon meeting. Our meeting is going to be at the banquet center, at the Rose Garden Center. And it starts at, well, if you're volunteering, you can come anytime between 3 and 5:15 to help us set up. And then dinner starts at 6. So if everybody is in and seated, we'll start at 6. Our guest speaker is going to be Dr. Mejia from TJC. That should be an interesting program in itself. So I'm going to pass this around, please. If you can come and volunteer, I'll be most grateful. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Emmett. Guys, really, this is where we need you to step up, okay? And we especially want to make this one big because we haven't been able to do this for the last 2 years, okay? Our Rotary International Convention coming to Houston, June 4th through the 8th. So please sign up, try to make it down there if you can. Need your March volunteer hours, just email them to Holly. And we've got a board meeting tomorrow. And remember, folks, you don't have to be on the board to come to the board meeting. And I've also been informed that the elevator at Eubank, that's where we have our meetings, it's Eubank, just south of Andy's on South Broadway. The elevator's out, so make sure you use the steps to come on upstairs and join us, okay? No, we're not going to meet in the parking lot. We'll have your part in the parking lot, okay? Okay, and as Emmett just said, next week we're not having an afternoon meeting here at Holly Tree. Our meeting's going to be the Young Citizens Banquet. And so now I want to bring up world's greatest president-elect. And he's also an actor. Will be appearing Sunday at the Pollard Center, playing Mayor Shifty or Shifty in the music band. But it's time to introduce our president-elect, Allison Cameron.
Thank you. I'm also appearing tonight and Friday and Saturday besides Sunday. Just landing out there. We have a really great speaker with us today. She hails from Kilgore, Texas. Her name is Haley Thomas. She is the Director of Nursing Care at Caring Hands PPECC, and she'll explain more about that in her Texas. She's worked there for 8 months. She graduated from UT Tyler with a bachelor's degree in nursing back in 2016. Prior to starting her position, she was a trauma ICU. She worked in pediatrics. She also worked in ambulatory surgery. She's very excited in her current role because her passion is special needs children. And that's a special calling for people that work with those children. They are hoping to be able to care for the children in Tyler and surrounding communities by bringing PPECC program to Tyler. I welcome to our podium Haley Thomas.
We just want to say thanks for having us here. Our main focus is just trying to get the word out about PPECCs. It's a new concept to Texas. We've only been around, well, the PPECC program has been around since 2017. So PPECC stands for Prescribed Pediatric Extended Care Center. So basically, in a nutshell, we're kind of like a daycare, but we're staffed with nurses and all licensed professionals, so we can care for kids who have medical needs, kids that can't go to regular daycare or attend regular school. We are fully Medicaid funded, so there's no out-of-pocket expenses for parents. So kids have to qualify for our program. It's not like a daycare where you can just call and get on the waiting list. We have to go through their doctors and the insurance company to get them qualified. We're open Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 5:30, so no weekends, no holidays, but we are open, during the day for parents to go to work. So, kind of how things work, if a child has medical needs that can't attend school, they can call us. We can reach out to the doctor's offices, get all of their medical records to see if we can get them to qualify. And then we would send it off to the insurance company to try to get them approved. Most kids who have private duty nursing will qualify for us. If you don't know about private duty nursing, it's where just one nurse would come into the home and care for the kid. But in today's time, there is shortage of nurses, so not all kids can get the care that they need. So then that leaves families struggling, trying to figure out what they're going to do with their kid for the day, if the nurse calls in or anything. So with us, we have more than one person, so we're always open during our open hours. So that's just one way, to try to help parents decide that coming to us is beneficial because that's one less thing that they have to worry about. So there's multiple different diagnoses that could qualify a kid to come to us. This is just a list of some of them. So anything that would require a kid to be on oxygen, there's some kids that have trachs on ventilators. We can take all of those. Kids who need apnea monitoring, so any kid that has problems breathing, like anytime, but especially while they're sleeping, we can take care of those. Cerebral palsy, cardiac diseases, any kind of seizure disorders, kids that have shunts, we can take all of that. G-tubes, feeding tubes, orthopedic care, kids that have IVs or need medications that takes more than just their parent, giving them oral medication. So really anything that would qualify for them to have nursing care more than just, the main things that parents do would qualify for them to come to us. And my job as trying to get them qualified is digging through the records to try to find a way to get them qualified. So if there's ever a kid that the parent's like, well, I don't know, they might qualify, but I'm not sure. I always tell them, just go ahead and come, let me get their records, and we'll try to get them qualified. So other things that we provide, We have contract with Therapy 2000 here in Tyler, so we have therapists that can come in to do speech, occupational, physical therapy. So that's another good thing. The parents aren't having to go pick their kid up, take them to therapy, bring them back. The therapist can just come and then they follow up with the parents outside so that the parents don't have to worry about all the extra driving and getting them to the appointments. Like I said, we have nurses and CNAs, so everybody's certified. We have a medical director, Dr. Jeffrey Smith. He's a pediatrician here in Tyler. He's our medical director, so he has oversight of all of the kids. But if we were to ever have a problem or an emergency in the facility, he is who we would call. We have respiratory therapy is needed. We can get social workers. We also have contract with dietitians and nutrition therapists. So if we have kids that are having trouble eating or, not gaining weight or anything like that, we can consult with nutrition to try to get them up and going. Okay, so like I said, we are fully paid for by Medicaid. Most of all of our kids that we would accept would qualify for disability, and if you're on disability, you automatically get Medicaid. So that's usually not an issue, but we do have some that have Medicaid as secondary as well. So anything Medicaid, we also can accept regular normal insurances. It's just a little bit harder to convince them to pay for our services. But if we can convince them, we will take their money. We do have transportation as well. So if the parents can't bring them, we can go pick the kids up from the house, bring them to the center, and then take them back home at night. So for some parents, that's helpful as well, because if they have to get to work early or late, we can take them home. So like I said, our medical director sees everything, but I also talk with each individual patient's primary care doctor to come up with a plan of care for each individual kid. So it's not like we just have one, generalized plan for every kid. Each kid is different. Each kid is an individual. So it's hard to try to specialize each plan of care for what each child needs. But our main focus is to provide early intervention just to help prevent any other medical issues that the kid might have if they weren't being overseen, by nurses every day. This is some of the kids that we have at one of our other facilities. So just to kind of let you see, that little kiddo has oxygen. The one over there has a trach. And then this little girl in the middle, she's actually on a ventilator. So if anybody ever wants to make a referral, all they have to do is call or email, and all I need is the child's name and birthday and the parent's contact information. And then I would reach out to the parents. If it's somebody else calling, I would reach out to the parents and just get them to try to come tour the facility. We're really trying to bring people in just so they can see the facility, kind of see what we have going on. And then they would just have to sign a release of information so that I can reach out to the doctor's offices and get all of the kids' information. And after this is over, we have pamphlets and stuff if anybody's interested that has all of our contact info on it. So I've already talked about this a little bit, but the admission process, once we have the kids' information, I would call the parents, get them to come. And then reach out to their doctor to get all of the medical records, and then I look through all of the medical records, see if there is a diagnosis or multiple that would possibly get them to qualify. And then I have a bunch of paperwork I have to do. Care, send it to the doctor's offices, send it to the insurance company, and just to try to get everybody to agree that yes, this is the best decision for the kid. This whole process, just depending on how quick I can get the information from the doctors, usually takes 2 weeks or so. If we do have, it's just waiting on the doctor's offices, really. Once I get all the information, I can usually get all of my paperwork done within a day or so. But especially when we have to reach out to the bigger hospitals, like Children's in Dallas and Cook's, Fort Worth, those can take a week or two to get all of their information. So it's kind of just a waiting game at that point. Once I get the information, I get the parents to sign it, saying they're okay with it, the primary care doctor to say they're okay with it, and then we send it off to the insurance company to wait for their approval. And that usually takes like 3 to 5 days. So just depending on how quick everybody is, usually we say 2 to 3 weeks. If it's an emergent case, we can try to get it done within a couple days. So this is our contact information. Like I said, we'll give y'all flyers. We have a Facebook page. Y'all can email us at any time. So we're located on Spur 124, Old Henderson Highway. I'm not from Tyler, so all I know to tell you is you go to the Walmart, the new Walmart, and then it's 2 red lights from there. Buy Just Pies, yes, yes, we're right down the road from Just Pies. They know our faces very well now, unfortunately.
No, I haven't heard that.
Oh,
Really?
you have to get there when they open at 12 though, because they sell out pretty quick sometimes. Yeah, we might have to stop by there on the way home.
Like 2 or 3 times this week already.
No, we've only been once this week, Jazz.
What was it?
We've only been once this week to Just Pies.
Oh, just once.
Just once this week. Mhm.
But just one time.
It's only Thursday. It's only Thursday, that's right. Do y'all have any questions for us? Oh my goodness, okay. Okay.
Yeah, start with
How
them.
many kids are you serving at once?
We can take up to 38 patients at one time.
Ages?
0 to 20.
Okay.
Yes, yes. So some of it kind of depends on the acuity of the patient. You know, like I wouldn't give one nurse 6 ventilator patients. So technically state regulations say 1 to 6, 1 nurse to 6 patients. But like I said, it just kind of depends on the acuity of the patients. Well, 1 nurse and 1 CNA to 6 patients. But like I said, you know, 6 ventilator patients, I'm not going to give to 1 nurse. Yes, sir?
I have a couple, 2 separate questions.
Okay.
One, how often do they come? And if it is every day, do y'all have like school or do y'all like have any learning programs for them while they're there?
Okay,
Or is it
so-
just for health care? Maybe that's-
So yes, they can come every day, Monday through Friday. Our state regulations say that we cannot be the sole educator. So what we would do is contact Tyler ISD and have like a homebound teacher or something like that come up to the center. You know, we do try to sing some ABCs and days of the week and stuff like that, but we're not doing any full educating for these kiddos.
You got your hands full otherwise.
Yes, sir.
Do you have a private pay scale other than Medicaid?
We have not crossed that bridge yet. We actually had one other person ask us about that too. And that would just be something that we would talk about once we got to that point, because we never, so our owners, actually are from Louisiana. They have 7 others, well, we're the 7th center that they've opened. Not in we're the first one in Texas, but they have, a couple in Louisiana and a couple in Mississippi as well. And so I actually had one other person ask me about that, and they said that they've never had anybody ask, to pay private pay. But it's more expensive than a daycare, I'll say that for sure. The insurance company pays us around $250 a day per kid. So that would just be something I guess we would have to talk about as it comes, because they said they've never dealt with that either when I did ask them the one time about that. Yes, ma'am.
How many, I know you can take up to 38. Are you at capacity right now?
Oh, no, ma'am. No.
How many do you have in the center right now?
2.
Okay.
So that's why, so we just started taking patients in September. So this whole process for our owners has been a long process. Each state has different regulations, and apparently state regulations are way stricter in Texas than they were for them in Louisiana and Mississippi. So they have been working on this project going on 4 years now.
Wow.
4 years ago is when they filed for their LLC. So we got our first patient in September. And so that's mainly, we're just trying to get the word out. We know there's kids around here that can use us. It's just trying to get the word out and let people know that we're here now.
So I think from what you're saying, it's a for-profit company.
Yes.
Okay.
And then secondary question, is it a, specially equipped van with
Yes.
accessible and all of that? Okay.
Is autism a qualifying diagnosis?
So that's a gray area. Most of the time, they need some diagnosis besides just autism, because autism is more cognitive behavioral and doesn't really per se need nursing care. But a lot of kiddos who have autism have secondary diagnoses. So that's one of those ones that if the parent called and just said, hey, I have a kid with autism, I would just say, okay, well, let me get their and look through them and see if we can find something else.
So autism with seizures would be qualified.
Yes, for sure. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say, I got to meet Miss Haley and her amazing team. They're really kind, and I taught them to tell me I'm doing this just because I filled her with beautiful facilities, amazing staff, totally equipped to do it, and they only had patients, and it broke my heart. So I said, we need to get the word out, so she's here talking about this, so let's spread the word.
I think there are like around 1,200 kids in this area that are in need of, or that need ventilator services, that are doing this type of care. So
that's what our owner said. She said, when I started this, before we decided Tyler, she's like, I did research. I know there's kids around here that need us. I wouldn't have just came to Tyler, Texas just because. So yeah, it's more just, we're trying to get the word out, let kids know we're here and that we're willing to help.
That's awesome. Because Riley, I love them.
Any other questions?
Wow.
As far as getting new patients, how are you guys going about that? Are y'all working with pediatricians in the area, or maybe trying to get referrals from someone like St. Paul's, or how are you trying to build that in?
So we have reached out to all of the pediatricians. They're probably tired of seeing us, honestly. We go by every couple weeks. Hey, we're still here. Don't forget about us, St. Paul's is one of the places we've been, but yeah, we've gone to pretty much all the doctor's offices, family practices,
the DMV equipment companies are a good resource for you too.
Yeah, or schools.
Yeah, and
the
it
districts.
doesn't just have to be Tyler. So we can, available. I mean, if the parents wanted to drive them 2 hours, we would take, anything. But for transportation, the kids can only be on, the bus for 60 minutes. So if they live within a 60-minute radius, we would be able to come pick them up and take them home. So all of the little, surrounding communities too, not just, they don't have to, be within just Smith County or Tyler city limits or anything like that.
And just to add to that, we have also marketed outside of Tyler. So what you were saying, the 60-minute radius, we've been to Jacksonville, we've been to Palestine, we've been to Athens, and all the smaller communities, coming back into Tyler as well, so.
Thank you.
Yes, and the only other thing I was gonna add, so I was talking about private duty nursing. So then there's some parents, they're like, well, we get private duty nursing, it's one-on-one care for my child. So the way we try to persuade them is socialization for the kid. That way the kid is not just stuck at home with one parent and one nurse all the time, bringing them to the center. Even the little kids that are on ventilators and stuff, we still try to include them in things. We do arts and crafts, we have music, all of those things. So it's more about just trying to get the kids to be around other kids to feel as normal as possible, even with, the medical needs that they have. Yes, ma'am.
So those that do have private care nursing, there's a lot of them around
Mhm.
who do that. So if they do have a private nurse, obviously there's gonna already be a nurse. Could the nurse come with them?
Only if we hired them to come work for us full time. But as far as the nurse just coming and hanging out for the day, no, because.
I mean, if she was doing her duties that her agency's already paying her for.
Well, but insurance won't approve that, because then that would be double paying. Because we kind of share hours with private duty nurses. So they could come to us during the day and have their PPECC hours and then have their private duty nursing at nighttime. But yeah, their private duty nurse wouldn't be able to come, because then that would be the insurance company paying us to do what the private duty nurse is doing and paying the private duty nurse. Because we basically do what private duty nurses do. Anything else?
You got plenty of time left.
I don't know any jokes. We were watching.
I thought several, but I'm afraid one of these folks would get up and, Will Smith me.
Oh. Yes, ma'am.
How do you segregate by ages in this building? Are there different rooms?
Yes, ma'am. So we do have, there's multiple rooms, and the way that we would split them up is more kind of by their abilities, so if we have 4 ventilator patients, I would probably put them all together rather than having a little toddler, running around. And then, so once we get more kids, yeah, we do have separate rooms. So we would split them up, and then kind of more by abilities rather than just age. We just kind of take more things into consideration.
In these other facilities in Mississippi, Louisiana, do you have a lot of teenagers, or what's the percentage there? Mostly pediatric? Each one varies, because there's some that end up having more teenagers, and then there's some that have more toddlers. And our main goal for the little kids is to try to get them to the point where when it's time to go to kindergarten, they can. There's some, of course, the ventilator patients won't be able to go to traditional school, but kids who have seizure disorder or stuff like that are to let them, go to school. So they do have a lot of kids that end up graduating from our program and going to regular school. My last question, is it just, do you have primarily your referrals from doctors, or churches or nonprofits?
I mean, honestly, we'll take them from anything. Most of our other centers, we found out, doctor's offices, the therapy companies. We had the one center that they just opened in Mississippi. When they opened, they had 18 kids, all from their therapy company. So we're really trying to get our therapy company on board with this as well.
What do you do in your facility with respect to physical therapy or other therapy?
So we have a contract with Therapy 2000 here in Tyler.